Hello, Granny. This is Granny. I'm super gray. Yeah. Can you sit down right there? Sit down. Come sit down in the sun. Let's see if she'll sit down with us. Getting the dog settled is completely essential to being able to podcast. I'm telling you. There she sits. Okay. To the Knitted Bean podcast. My name is Echo and I will be your host. The Knitted Bean is a nitty, nerdy, and sometimes sweary podcast with a side order of fandom, books, media, or whatever else I want at the end. I am coming to you from Montana, where I live with my husband and my 2 Boston Terriers. This is Lugnut, or Lugs, one of them. Granny is on the bed, asleep. You can't stay up here the whole time. We've discussed this before. She gets all excited because she hears me talking to the camera. And she's like, I need to come be on camera. I do, Mom. Okay. If you're looking for me on the internet, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as The Knitted Bean. You can email me at knittedbean@gmail.com. I also have a Ko-Fi. Or you can get a hold of me on Discord as B, EAN, #0199, where you are welcome to send me a DM or invite me to a group or whatever you'd like to do. Just no dick pics. We're not on that level, guys. I'm drinking some very oversteeped Grünpack tea from my friend in Germany in my Blow Me mug, which I also share with them, with some honey and almond milk today because I'm very tired. It's not early, I just had a migraine yesterday, and so I'm not fully up to speed yet. It is the 25th of April, and this is episode 26, you guys. Granny is peacefully asleep over there. Well, she's not really asleep. She's just peaceful. So, it's been like 3 weeks, and for whatever reason, that seems to be like my schedule right now. I didn't intend that, but I did get sick again and spent 3 weeks on steroids. I just finished my steroids like 3 days ago. So, you know, running on caffeine and steroids yet again. I feel like that is my life, and I hate it. But it's what keeps me going and keeps me from the ER, so it is what it is. What else? It's like 62 degrees outside right now, which is super nice. I did actually try to record the podcast on Friday, like 5 times. But I kept getting interrupted. I had family coming over to walk the dogs, family coming over to drop off groceries, family coming over to bring groceries back. And then my husband gets off work early on Fridays. So, like, by the time all that stuff got done... Sorry, Granny's trying to get herself comfortable here. Hang on. Come here. Oh, yes, just like this. Boop, 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 boop. And then look. Oh, blankets. Blankets are good, Granny. So by the time, like, everybody stopped trying to stop by, then my husband was going to be home, and I don't like to record with people in the house. And I couldn't record with people stopping by because I cannot fathom, like, talking to a camera and then just having somebody knock on the door. Like, that is horrendous. So I have like multiple attempts on my camera, and this is going to be so much editing. But whatever. The plus side is that the weather is better today. It's sunny. It's like 17 Celsius, 62-ish Fahrenheit, like I said. Glorious. My tulips from Amsterdam are blooming. I'll show you a couple of pictures. But like last week we had a massive snowstorm, which we do get snowstorms in April, actually quite a lot of the time. That's not uncommon at all. We just don't usually get over a foot in one night. That was a little bit ridiculous. I feel like not much has happened in the last 3 weeks other than that I've gone to, you know, a bundle of doctor's appointments, which is really boring. Granny's still not doing great, but I'm just babying her and she's loving it. The weather's been all over the map and I've gotten a lot of knitting done. And that's like it. I mean, I really haven't gone out of the house much because I've been sick. So let's get into a bit of admin. First off, we have our discount code from Katie of Naughty Knitting Sacks. As usual, you guys know I love these and they're always like, if I don't have a project in one, I will move a project into one. I have 2 of them and they are like among my favorite bags. Not just because they're cool and fun, but also because they're really well built. So we have that. That is Bean 15 for 15% off. Make sure you go give her some love. She totally deserves it. And then the other admin thing that I wanted to talk about is I'm going to be doing the inclusion mal again this year. Probably going to start it mid-May. So I'm thinking next time I podcast, I will start it, whatever date that ends up being, and then I'll run it through the end of July because I like to run it over Pride Month in the US and in the UK, so June and July. Even though it's not in any way like exclusive to LGBTQ plus inclusion, it is anything. It is mental health, it is minority, it's person of color, it is male designers, it's size inclusive, it's whatever you want to make or whatever pattern you want to use or whatever yarn you want to use, or I don't care. It's a make-along. So if you do painting, if you want to paint something, that's great. So it's all about bringing like what brings us together and all the things that make us the same while celebrating all the little things that make us unique as well, because inclusion is something that is super, super, super important to me. I'm queer, I'm disabled, I'm fat, and I think that there are lots of spaces that are exclusionary and knitting is not one of those spaces. So I love to celebrate that basically. So again, it's always going to be super open. WIPs are always going to be allowed. I'm aiming for 4 prize packages this year. I have bags from 3 Yarn Mice that I'm going to give away, and then I am hoping to get some yarn or stitch markers or something to go with that. I do have some yarn from other people lined up already. If you're a maker and you're interested in donating a prize for that, just send me a DM. I would love to talk to you. I'm hoping to do both Instagram and Ravelry, one for FO and one for WIP from each. So be on the lookout for that. Start thinking about what you'd like to make for it or what you're working on that would work for it. Sorry, I'm just like still waking up here. I am going to be doing my needle and thread that Darcy sent me in the same way that I did. I'll insert the picture here. I made some needle and thread socks with You Can Sit With Us, or You Can Sit at Our Table. And I did corrugated ribbing, and they're shorties and I love them, and I want to make a matching pair in, I think this is by Craftwool or by Stitchwool. So I'm super excited about that. And that is something that I am going to cast on for that. So be watching for it and be prepared. I'm really hoping to get a big turnout this year. I definitely want to make it a yearly thing. And like I said, it's make along. So whatever you want to do. If you want to knit cross stitch, crochet, paint, write a poem. I'm down with it. As long as you can tell me how it promotes inclusive of something, I'm down with it. Lex is down there telling me to include her. You don't include me. So that's my admin. I'm excited to get that going. Okay, so I have 3 FOs, of which I only have one with me. The one that I have with me is the one that I'm wearing. This is my V-Back Tee by Jamie Hoffman. It is made almost entirely in Farmer's Daughter's yarn with a little smidge of Hypnotic yarns at the bottom from a Yarnable. So the top 3 colors, boop, boop, boop. These are leftovers from 2021's Soxx Squad. The 4th color is a prize that I won for 2021's Soxx Squad. And this is actually a sport weight, though you can't tell. And then this is Sweet and Sour from Yarnable. So this is like mixing and matching 3 or 4 different bases, because I think the 3 Farmer's Daughters leftovers might be on the same base. One of them might not be though, but I think they are. Then you have the Sport Weight, which is on 100% merino base. And then you have the Yarnable, which is on an 80-20. I think these are either a 75-25 or a 90-10. But it blends so well, you guys. That you can't tell. I mean, the only thing that you can tell is when you pet down, when you hit like my fat roll, it's really soft because that's the 100% merino one. But yeah, I mean, it's so great. I love it. I have been wearing this almost every day since I finished it like 4 days ago. Of course, I could do that knitterly thing like we do where I point out every single mistake that I've made in it, but I'm not going to, because I'm always telling my new knitter friends that no one will know you've made the mistake unless you point it out. And my friend Darcy has this saying of like, if you can't see it galloping by on a horse, then no one will know. So yeah, there's like a mistake in the collar, and there's a mistake in one of the sleeves, and there's a mistake in the hem. And you guys will never know unless I tell you, so I'm not going to tell you, because to you it looks perfect, and I think we like to pick our stuff apart. So, give you a quick flash, but I will insert some photos or video from me from Friday when I was recording of me showing it off better. So I like it with the scoop in the front. I know Kristen had asked about that. I think, if you have the boobs to fill out the scoop, it looks really nice that way. I tried it on the other way, it looks fine. But it just doesn't look the same to me as with the scoop in the front. I did make it a little smidge shorter, so you'll see that it cuts off my V like by maybe an inch. I think it told me to make my stripes like 1 1/3 or 3.3 inches long each, and I made them 3 inches even each. So that took off a little over an inch off the whole thing. And I did that just because, you guys, I'm short. I'm 5'3". So if I actually put my pants up where they're supposed to be, here's the top of my pants and here's the bottom of the thing. So I was a little concerned if I kept like the original length, that by the time the superwash stretched, it would be below my hip, and I did not want something tunic length. Not the way to go. I did the 5-color fade. The main thing that I did modification wise, in fact the only modification that I made, was that I made it about an inch shorter than recommended, because I am a short person and tunic length is just not recommended on me. So I knew that if I made it the length that she suggested using superwash yarns, then I blocked it, it was going to grow like 4 inches and it was going to be too long. And that came out perfect. It's not too short, but it's also not too long. So it hits at hip height on me. I can't show you apparently, but like between my waist and it, I have about 4 inches of length. So it goes like 4 inches past my natural waist, which is perfect. I can, these are high-waisted, looks great with these, but I can also wear it with jeans and it hangs like, you know, 2.5, 3 inches down past that. It's really flowy and cool despite being mostly wool. I would not be able to wear it in 105-degree weather in Montana, I don't think, despite the fact that our weather's really dry. I think it would just be too hot, but for spring and fall, it's great. It's 62 degrees outside today, and this is perfectly comfortable. You get a lot of airflow with it. I know you can wear it front or back. I like it with the scoop in the front because I do have a big chest, and so I feel like that actually looks really good, and it frames my tattoo in the back. I can wear it the other way, but the V is a little low, which is fine. I have another V shirt that's pretty low actually. But I just feel like it's most flattering this way on me, on my body shape. I do think it is a really flattering shirt for all the body shapes, which is great. I think as a designer, that's something that can be really hard to design, something that looks good on people with big chests and small chests and tall bodies and short bodies and wide bodies and thin bodies. But this one really is one that does hit that, and that particular trait is something that I really look for in a pattern. I wanted to make this since I saw it on Chevy Roll's podcast, so like a year and a half ago, and it was like in the back of my mind, and then I saw these 3 colors that I had from Farmer's Daughters that I had leftovers, and I was like, oh, those are all kind of the same speckle. They kind of remind me of Rainbow Sherbet. So I literally based this whole color scheme off of Rainbow Sherbet. Then I won the prize, and I was like, definitely I can fill that out with one more color and make that an absolute summer sherbet. What's really funny is this color right here is, the name of it is Summer Sherbet. So this is my summer sherbet. We're not going to talk about how I say sherbet either. I'm from the West Coast. I'm aware it does not have a second R in it. I don't care, you guys. It's sherbet. You say it how you want to say it. I'll say it how I want to say it. Okay, so now to the downsides. The shirt is amazing and I'm super glad that I made it. It's going to be one of my favorites. I can tell it's going to be a knit that I grab for frequently. It was a bitch to knit. Not hard, don't get me wrong. Like the instructions were great, easy to follow, all of that. But in my size, because of the construction of the V and then the regular scoop in the front, you have probably about double the number of stitches on your needles during the knitting of the body than what you would normally have. So I shouldn't say always, I mostly knit fingering weight garments for myself, and I typically run about a 3X in knitting tops. So 53-inch bust would be 0 ease for me, which means that a lot of times I have anywhere between 260 and 360 stitches on my needles during the knitting of the garment, depending on the gauge. I'm totally cool with that. I know that there are people out there who'd be like, oh my God, that's so many. I'm cool with that. That's just my size. I'm used to it. And I like knitting in fingering weight, you guys. I love it. In fact, it is the vast majority of my stash, right? So the problem with that is that means I have like 600 stitches on the needle. I have a 50-inch cable, which I typically only use for trying things on. Oh my God. So like all the stitches are crunched up on the 50-inch and I'm like trying to move them around. It's like knitting a Stephen West shawl in the round when you get up to those larger sizes. I'm sure this is not really a problem for people in the smaller sizes, or maybe it is. Maybe they're used to only knitting 180 stitches in the round, and to them 400 seems like the biggest slog out there. I don't know. I've never knit a small garment because I don't have anybody skinny to knit for them, but For me, 600 was a lot. And I only had to do it for like 9 or 10 inches. I don't remember, maybe it was 11. But it was a lot. It wasn't hard at all. Like it was like TV knitting. It was, you know, like usually a 2 or a 4 row repeat and then some fading. Like it was not hard. It was just a lot of stitches to manage on a very large needle. It also meant that with this garment, I never tried it on. Like, I just knit it and trust the pattern. I decided that I was making I think I made a 55 inch, which was about 2 inches of ease. I think. You can check my Ravelry page. I either aimed for 2 or 4 inches of ease because I wanted it to be blousey. And I just trusted the pattern and was like, well, I'm on gauge, so it's gonna come out right. And it did. But this is like the first garment that I've made where I didn't at least try it on once. I was like, I'm just gonna get this done. So that is my drawback for this garment, is that you have to manage a lot of stitches in the round during the knitting of the body. I never want to do it again. I'm really glad I did it once, if that makes sense. I did do, so it recommended a tubular cast on for the neck. That was the first time I've done a tubular cast on. It took me 2 tries, but I did get it on the second try. I think it looks really nice. So to match that, I did a tubular sewn bind off on all of the hems. My one other complaint, if you can call it that, is that it recommends that you do 5 rows of ribbing at the hems, the arms and the bottom hem. And I don't think that's enough. I went ahead and did it because that was what was in the pattern, but it immediately curled, and I was telling a quill, I'm like, oh, I really hope that blocks out. And it did block out, you guys, don't get me wrong. But also, you can tell that even though it blocked out from me wearing it and it's sitting on my legs, it curls up when it sits on my legs. And so it kind of has a little tendency to tilt. If I did knit it again, I would do 8 rows of ribbing. I don't feel like 5 is enough to keep something from curling. 8 is, for me, about the minimum. Those are my only like complaints though. And they're not really complaints so much as just, this was more of a product knit than a process knit for me. And typically I am both a product and process knitter. I enjoy the actual process of knitting. It's relaxing. It's what keeps me sane. And I also enjoy being able to wear the product. This was just very much a product knit. I got about here in the knitting and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have 600 stitches on my needles. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna power through it because I have wanted this t-shirt for so long. And I'm glad that I powered through it, but I wouldn't make another one. That said, so she has a whole bunch of these. A scrappy version, a DK version, the V-back version, and I want to say one other version. I would consider knitting the V-back, or the V-back, that's what I'm knitting. I would consider knitting the DK V-back because in a heavier weight, I would have fewer stitches to manage, and that was my main, like, that's what made it so much work to knit. So I would consider doing that because I love the design, I love the finished garment, I love the way it wears, and I'm so happy with the finished product. It would definitely be probably a winter item for me because I get hot flashes. So the idea of wearing like DK in the summer is like, unless, I guess maybe I could knit it in like a DK linen. That might not be too bad for summer. So that is my V-back tee. Super addicting. Oh, and it was one of my make 9s. So that's another thing off my make 9. I'm doing really good. And that's probably because I designed my make 9 around things that I planned on making this year, and I'm staying on track pretty well. So the next finished object that I have are my EKG socks, as I've titled them. They're just like some self-styled colorwork socks. I will put pictures up here. These were a gift knit for a healthcare worker who highly deserved them. They are knit in Shropshire lichen for the main color, and then the two pinks, purples, fuchsias are leftover farmer's daughter and leftover chromatic yarns from my advent calendar. So neither one of those actually had a name. They were minis. I didn't have enough of either one to do the whole sock, so I did like toe and color work and heel, and then on the cuff I alternated both, or not alternated, I like color blocked them. Recipient loved them. I spent so much time trying to decide what to make for this person, what kind of sock, and I couldn't come up with anything. And so in the end I pulled up an EKG strip and I just made my own color work. It came out super good and it's really recognizable as an EKG. They loved that and it really made their day. These were I think they were a 64 stitch sock on a 0, which is my usual. And so my color work chart was a 12 row repeat. So if you want it, just let me know and I can send it to you. It's not like a pattern of any kind. I just made a color work chart on like Stitch Fiddle or something like that. And then I did a Fish Lips Kiss Hill, my wedge toe, and regular. I did kind of increase at the top because as I was knitting them, 64 stitches on a 0, I felt like the taller they got, that they might need some calf room. So I increased to, I think, 66, about halfway up. Well, hello, Lux. Hi. Did you enjoy the sunshine? I have the front door open, so she's like running in and out. I think that's it on those socks. I do tend to gift knit a ton of socks, and I tend not to keep very many for myself. So that's a little bit of a goal of mine. So I had a goal of making 12 socks this year. That definitely counts towards a pair. I've ordered a couple of yarns from Hannah of Chromatic Yarns. And I've told myself that with those yarns, I have to knit myself a pair that I am keeping each before I can knit anybody else socks with those yarns, because that's like kind of my go-to for a gift knit if I'm gonna make a gift knit. I mean, you know you're important to me if I make you socks, but I give away 3/4 of the socks that I make. It's terrible. And you'll see I have more gift knit socks coming up. Okay, so my last FO is my single malt for my husband, you guys. I finished it. This is by Maxim Sear. I made it in Alpaca Soxx and Queensland recycled tweed. No, this is not all I have left. I actually ended up having an entire ball left over. I might make a dog sweater out of this because it's like super sturdy. But I don't know. I also might just make like, I could make like a baby cardigan out of it too. That would be pretty cute. So I finished it. I plowed through it this last weekend. It was not done the first time I tried to record this. I still had like 3 inches and a whole sleeve left. I was like, I just really need to get this done. And the only thing that was really holding me back is that it's on larger needles. It's knit on a size 8, and that size needle starts to get into territory where it makes my wrist sore if I do it for very long at a time. And I was like, you know, I just want to get this done. I was making it for Michael's birthday make-along from Piece for Piece Crafting podcast, who you should definitely go check out. He's hilarious. And I had till the end of the month to get it done. And I was like, you know, if I knit for like an hour and then I take a break for a day and then I do it again, I'm not gonna get this done in time. And then I won't have a deadline for it. I'll just like drag it out all summer. I was like, I just need to plow through it, get it done. So as much as I don't recommend this, I did. I just plowed through it all weekend. I worked on it all day on Sunday. I just took a pain pill and I was like, oh, we're getting this done. So I got it done. My husband loves it. This is an Aran weight sweater. I held these 2 yarns double. I will insert some photographs of it and of him in it. It is like a $10 Canadian pattern, which I think is always worth it with Maxim Sears patterns. He's like super detail oriented, great finishing, always, always, always. Really clear instructions. So I have never been disappointed. The thing that I found really interesting about this is that most people who knit this were like, oh, it was a super quick knit. I was done with this in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, because it's Aran weight, and I've never knit an Aran weight sweater because I don't love big needles. I found it to be a really long knit because I don't like big needles. It took me a couple of months, like I think 2 full months. I made a 55-inch chest for him. He is an actual chest of 51-ish, 52-ish, around there. We did measure over his clothes because he wanted to be able to wear it over his clothes for work. And he wanted gray. I mean, he's an art teacher and he wears gray or black 98% of the time. So that's the color we got. Now that he has a gray sweater, I'm allowed to make him a brown sweater if I want.
Editing being here, if I make a black sweater, it will be for myself.
I know, so far outside of the color box, but it has to be dark, dark, dark brown. So the idea with this sweater and the yarns that I chose is that they are super durable. The recycled tweed is not the softest thing in the world, and knitting it by itself is not the most pleasant experience in the world in my experience. This is the second sweater I've knit with it. It's a little bit like cotton. It's not super elastic, but pairing it with the alpaca, I actually completely didn't notice that at all anymore. The alpaca Soxx is super soft. It's a washable, I think it's like 80 alpaca, 20 nylon or something like that. Super, super soft. So I felt like that was a great way to go. It really softened up the feel of the Queensland recycled tweed. Also made it super warm. We live in Montana. He uses a sweater kind of as like a coat and an extra layer under his coat, and he's always cold. So this is perfect for him. I did make the sleeves a ½ inch longer because he likes his cuffs to come down onto his thumb, like past his wrist. So I did modify that for him. That's the only modification I made. Everything else is completely 100% to pattern, and he loves it. It's great. He's super, super knit worthy, you guys. He's been asking for a sweater for over a year, and it's not that I didn't want to make him one. It's that I wanted to make sure that the pattern I picked was something that he would really, really like. That the yarn that I picked was something that he would really, really like. So he's thrilled that I finally got around to doing it. So he's out there wearing his hand knit hat, his hand knit sweater, and his hand knit socks. So he's super knit worthy. He'll treat it with lots of love, and I'm very glad he has it. That's what I've got for FOs. Somehow recording this for like the 5th time, this is going so much faster, and I feel like 49 times less funny, you guys. I'm sorry. So, also in the vein of husband gifts, I did, since I finished the sweater, pull out, this is in my Delicue, it's just a Delicue bag that I got from my local yarn store. It has a little, speaking of Maxim Sears, Has a little like gender narwhal on it. I started doing the shiny socks finally. So this is the first one, and no, I'm not done, but we're getting there. I'm putting the heels in, the afterthought heels. I did like 5 rounds before starting the actual afterthought heel, because he has such a like flat foot, I think is what you would call it. His instep is really tall. I feel like his arch is very flat, but his instep is really tall. So I'm hoping that that will help it fit good. So these are a Geektastic Yarns Superhero Sock, which is just a 75/25. They are the shiny colorway, which is Firefly themed, and we both love Firefly. And there's all there is to say about it. There's 72 stitch on a size 0. And when I have to do flat, I do 2 16-inch circulars. I cannot get on with Magic Loop, you guys. Cannot. It's like, I would rather DPN it. And I don't love DPNs. So, maybe I can get these finished today. You know, this does not seem like that much work to me, but my brain has been real foggy lately. I worked on that all day yesterday, and that's all I got. That was all my knitting for yesterday, was just picking up those stitches and knitting half that heel. And part of that was probably the migraine that was coming that I didn't, like, hadn't clicked yet, but like, some days my brain is just not there. Okay, so next up, we've got, in a naughty knitting sack, of course, this is actually my fucking bunnies bag, which I don't think I've had on here in a little bit. I have the cutest freaking thing, you guys. Oh my god. I know we've discussed this. I'm not having any babies. I'm never having any babies. But look at this. This is the Monday suit by Petite Knit. Is it Petite Knit? I think that's Petite Knit. Let me check. Because, yeah, Petite Knit. This is the first time I've made a Petite Knit pattern. Let's try this again. This is the first time I've made a Petite Knit pattern. And I have to say, you guys, I kind of like it. So they're like a more Scandinavian style knitting pattern where they don't explicitly tell you how to do every little thing and hold your hand the whole way. And I kind of like that. I haven't really knit a pattern like that before, but like the button band is built in. Let me give you a close-up. This button band it's a built-in one as you go, and so it's ribbing, and this middle part is kind of knit flat, and a bunch of parts are knit in the round, obviously the legs and some things like that. But they don't tell you like knit 5 rows and do a buttonhole, knit 5 rows and do a button, you know what I mean? They literally, what they said, I think, was something like work the raglan creases in this way, like every other or whatever, while also working a buttonhole every 14th round or something like that. So like you had to keep track of, I'm doing my raglan increases, and oh yeah, by the way, on every 14th whatever, then I need to do a buttonhole. And I just found that so much easier for some reason than trying to follow line by line by line by line, because it gave me the freedom to just like keep track of it with my hash marks and be done. I could see, if you were not a new knitter, how that would be super confusing and too much stuff to like keep track of at once. And I definitely can't keep track of it in my brain. Like I use a row counter, and a lot of times I make hash marks on my PDFs, but I love this. I lost at Yarn Chicken though, because This is a Sweet Georgia Tough Love sock. This is one of my favorite sock yarns, like up there with fiber seed for like really big commercial dyers. But what I forgot when I ordered it was that Tough Love sock is a little less yardage than average. So this is originally knit in like one of the sand is gone. I can't talk. One of the sand is gone, 50 grams. And so this size, which is the 1 to 2 month, takes 2 50-gram balls, which totals out to be a little, like 2 50-gram balls is about 500 yards. So it doesn't use the whole thing, but it uses like 420 some yards when you look at people's patterns, right? Or people's projects. So, sorry, my brain is like all of a sudden super failing me. What I forgot when I ordered the Sweet Georgia, this is the color Apple Pie, and I love it because this is for a fall baby, and it's just so pretty. Is that Sweet Georgia yarn runs 390 yards, I think? Yeah. So it's like, it's not a sport, but it's like as close to a sport of a fingering as you can get without being a sport. And it makes a great, gorgeous fabric, but I totally spaced that out. 390 yards is not 420 or whatever. So I have this tiny ass little nugget and a whole arm in it. I did order another skein, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to dye lot match for me because it's from the same place, and they had 7 skeins before when I ordered. They have 6 skeins now. I'm sure it's the same. So hopefully it'll match up. Actually, it should be here today or tomorrow. I ordered from Woolen Company, who are amazing for like shipping, and they're super fast. They have free shipping within the US. They have a great selection of yarns. Obviously not as big as like yarn.com, but really a nice large selection, and I've ordered from them a lot. So this is a gift for a friend, and when I'm all done with it, knitting it, we're gonna turn it into a Halloween costume. We're gonna put some little patches on it and make some accessories to go with it, so it'll be a cute little Halloween costume. And they can wear it as a Halloween costume on Halloween, and then when not on Halloween, it can just be what it is. So this is the first time I've knit a petite knit pattern, and I'm really pleased with it. I do see why people find them really pleasant to knit. That said, it's partially knit flat. You guys know I really don't like knitting flat. I found this to be a very relaxing knit. I think because of the size, it just kind of reminded me of like a washcloth, and how you can find a washcloth to be a really nice palette cleanser. There was just this small area that needed to be knit flat. It had nice clear edges with the ribbing, and then I got to do some small circumference knitting in the round, which we all know I love. So I will definitely make that again. In fact, I've already got an idea of yarn. This Yarnable yarn that I, excuse me, I'm umming a lot again. I would really like to knit it in this. I think it would be really cute, and I could just stash it for when someone I know is having a baby. I say that like people I know have babies. They don't. I'm at that age where everybody I know already done had their babies, guys. The only people who are going to have babies in my world are like the people I knew who used to be babies. And that's, you know, could happen at any day, but probably won't. can make it and hold on to it for 5 years until they all get married and decide to have kids, or don't get married and decide to have kids. So I love it. I'd love to make another one. What else have we got down here? Okay. Living in... Brain, help me out. I love this bag too because it's fat ladies and mushrooms. Two of my favorite things. Fat squirrel fibers, thank you. Living in my fat squirrel fibers bag is a barely started project. I've got some Yowl from Lang and a row counter. This is some leftover, or rather never used, Farmer's Daughter. I just never used this many from the Sock Squad, and I just have a cuff started. These colors are going to be the Be Creative socks, and I'll pop a picture in here. These are all over Colorwork socks by Ducati, or Ducati, I don't know how to say it. Who is a German designer. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure sock. You have multiple charts to pick from to decide how many bees or beehive or flower you want where. And I'm gonna make these for my writing partner in Germany who does some beekeeping, and I've never made an all over Colorwork sock. You guys know I'm not the biggest, hugest fan of Colorwork, but I really like these socks. And in my experience, I like Colorwork a lot better in small circumference knitting and when I don't need to catch floats because the floats are all very, very small. Because then it goes so much faster for me. So I don't have to think about where to catch the floats. So the only downside that I see to the pattern is that there's only one size. So there's multiple lengths, like multiple sizes. Like you can do like a European, I didn't pay a ton of attention. I think 38, 40, 42. So like you get multiple lengths chart wise, but around you only get one. And I'm sure that that is because in a lot of like Colorwork patterns like that, it's assumed that you'll go up or down needle sizes to get larger or smaller projects. The gauge on it is really tiny, similar to what I normally get on my socks with a 0. And usually I would go up to a 1 with my Colorwork. So I'm not sure if I will or not this time. Because in starting it, it just seems like, kind of big. Like the number of stitches that they have me cast on and knit for the cuff just seems large. I don't know. I'm gonna have to play with it and see. If it looks big, then I'll probably stick with a 1 for the Colorwork as well. Or not a 1, a 0 for the Colorwork as well, instead of going up to a 1. Man, I apologize. I started this podcast off kind of strong, nothing like on Friday, but kind of strong. And then like my brain is totally derailing me here. So those are the Be Creative socks by Ducati. My last FO is going to be a self-design. We'll see how this goes. You guys, so the imposter syndrome is real. I had a whole full-on like meltdown about casting this on because I'm like, but I love the yarn. I love the yarn. I don't want to ruin the yarn. As if I can't tear the yarn back and just use it again. What the hell? So this is in my Sweet Comfort Designs bag that I won from Grizzly Knits. And I am using the Wool Barrel. The Wool Barrow, not barrel. It's really messy right now, sorry. Galanta Tweed. This is a gorgeous yarn, you guys. Absolutely freaking gorgeous. And I had it cast on and I decided that it wasn't quite enough stitches, so I tore it off and I'm casting it on again. I based what I want off of a tank top that I have in my wardrobe that I really love and wear a lot and have had for probably 5 years. And off of this gauge swatch that I did, which, yes, I'm aware it's very tiny. I don't care. Okay, so this is my tiny, tiny gauge swatch. So I did do the thing, you guys. I knit a bit in the indigo yarn. I put it on, actually, some of this white Shetland tweed right here. And I washed it with my wool wash. It didn't bleed. The spinning oil came out, but I was surprised. It did not bleed onto the white yarn that it was held on. So then I pulled it out, I let it completely dry. I put it back on the needle and I knit some white, just random lace. And I blocked it again because the Wool Barrow does recommend a 2-stage blocking for this yarn specifically. Specifically they recommend it. One to get the oil out and then one to actually block it. And I love it. You guys, it's so soft. It's not superwash at all. And it is a single. So I think it could bias if you knit a whole garment in stockinette. And the top part is a Shetland tweed that I got gifted to me by a friend from Under the Sun Farms, like S-O-N. I have no idea how old this is. This was a bunch of de-stash that she gave me. It is also a lace weight. So the Wool Barrow is what I would consider kind of a heavy lace. I think it's about 600 meters per 100 grams. This, it doesn't say. It just says lace weight. But it looks visually about the same thickness. And this is 100% Shetland. The Wool Barrow is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% silk. I freaking love it. So I'm gonna make my tank top. I have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, that's how I feel. I do clearly know what I'm doing. I can make a garment. And you know what? When I first started knitting, I didn't actually knit with patterns. I just made things. I made dog sweaters and I just cast on numbers. I went up, I went down, I knit in the round, I made holes for arms. Like, I can do this. I just feel like I can't because I'm not a designer. And so like I have this major imposter syndrome going on. So my plan is to knit a mostly stockinette blousey tank top with white lace at the top, straps that are adjustable. We'll see how it goes. I have all the dimensions, I have my gauge, I have my needles. I just need to decide exactly like how many stitches I'm casting on and then go for it. Which is apparently sounds easier than it is because I don't want to do it. I'm like, I'm gonna ruin the yarn. Not gonna ruin the yarn. You guys, that's it. That's it for the, well, not really. I have some other knitting stuff I want to talk about, but that's it for the like works that I have. Okay, let's talk about a few things that I am going to cast on. So Obviously I'm like just in the start of casting on that tank top, but I also want to cast on a rocket tee. And for that, I am going to use this French mohair and this Pascuali Nepal. I need to wind them up. I already have the pattern. I think I'm gonna go ahead and have that going so that I have something to work on that has a pattern that I don't have to think about. I can just follow while I'm designing that other tank top. I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, I'll cast on one or the other, but in the end, you know, I think I actually am gonna do both at the same time. That way I can swap back and forth. That, and I really want to knit with this yarn. It's so soft. It's nice. It's a linen cotton nettle blend, and I'm just really excited to test that out. So there's that. The other thing is, you guys, I want some help. I was digging through my stash, and I don't even remember what I was looking for. Oh, I know what I was doing. I was I'm gonna do a swap with Liz from Liz Ward Crafts from the Yarn Waffle podcast. And in doing that, like digging and looking for scraps for her, I discovered some DK that I have. This is old stash, you guys. I mostly knit with fingering weight now, and you know this. But back in the day, when I was first learning to knit and doing a lot of dog sweaters, I knit with a lot of DK. So I have some Farmer's Daughter craggy tweed that my husband got me. This is leftovers from a cowl that I made. And then I have these two. Sure what this is, but I think it might be MJ yarns. It is not, well, maybe it is. It might be a silky base. I don't know. And then I have this one, which is an MJ yarns on a silken base. And this is old, you guys. I mean, the yarn store that I bought this from has gone out of business. Well, been bought out, moved again. So I was interested to see that these guys are still dyeing yarn, which is awesome. Their dye style looks nothing like it used to. But this is a 85 Polworth 15 silk base, which is super cool. And I really like the colors. Like, it's like this multicolored rainbow over dyed with blue. And then this is kind of like a pink brown rainbow. So I like these. I feel like although they are different, they go together. And I feel like they would go really well with that in between them. And then I have the Plucky Knitter that my friend Darcy sent me, which seems to go really great with this. So in total, this is
250. I weighed these. Each of these is almost 100 grams or slightly over 100 grams. I think I used them for edging on something. And I looked up the silken base and it had close to 300 yards. So I feel like I'm safe in counting each of these as 250 yards. So that's like 750 yards. This, I have less of. I feel like I only have about 40 grams of this. So this is maybe 100 yards. But I can get more of this if I need to.
And I have some Das Mannschaft DK that is not a dissimilar color, although it's not a tweed. And I have about 40 grams of it, and I think it would look cool. And I have about 40 grams of this one, which is an MJ Yarns or MJ yarns, that is like a pink purple. So I'm pretty sure I have, between all of these, about 1,300 yards of DK, and I want to make a striped, preferably round yoked sweater. It does not need to be long sleeve. I really prefer 3/4 sleeve, and I'm totally fine with short sleeve. In like a 53 to 55 inch bust. I'm having a hard time finding a round yoke DK for that. I know that there's the stripey by Andrea Mowry, but that is a sport weight, and I could do gauge and adapt it. And if you guys don't have any good suggestions, that's probably what I'll do. But I'm curious if you guys have a striped, and I'd like kind of whitish stripes, a striped DK weight round yoke sweater that you like the styling of. Because I was going through my stash and I was just like, wow, I literally have enough matching yarns to make probably like a short sleeved sweater if I put them all together. I also have some hedgehog fibers. They're like Tweedy base, which I would be happy to throw in there as well. So that could bump it up to like even 1,400 yards if I needed it to. So let me know if you've got ideas. I would like to do that, and it's not on my make 9, and it's not on my radar, and I have so many other things that I want to knit, but I kind of want to make it like soon. Because, you know, the bug bites. Alright guys, if you made it this far, thank you for sticking with me through the foggy brain. I would appreciate a like, a subscribe, a comment, whatever you would care to drop my way. It does all help kind of spread the word and let other people see this as well. So if you have the time and you don't mind, that would be awesome. I think that that is mostly it for the week, other than a little bit of life and 2 tiny gift acquisitions. So if you want to skip acquisitions, you're free to run away now. So in acquisitions, my friend Di sent me a huge box of things from Germany, and in it was this awesome notions pouch, and it's the same on both sides, and it's a little leather pull on a black inside, and I love it. They know me so well. It's just perfect. It's like canvas and stiff, and I love it. It needs to go in one of my bags now that I've shown it off. The other thing that they sent me was a tin of anise mitts. So I love licorice and anise, and they know that, and I always get a lot of stuff. And I thought this in particular was really cute because it was very clear that they got me it, not just because it was anise, but also because I could use it as a notions tin when I was done, which I promptly did. What was even funnier is I was watching a podcaster who lives in Germany, and they were talking about going on a trip and how they found some rose flavored mints, the same brand, and how it had a cute little design on the front, and they absolutely bought the mints because they could use it as a notions tin when they were done. And I was like, yep, and I have the same one. That is all I have for acquisitions. I do have some yarn coming in the mail, which you probably won't see before I knit it because it is to finish off the arm for that Monday suit. And then I have the yarn that I ordered for Soxx, which you will see next time, that I got with some Easter money. So that is like all I have. I have not had the brain space for any kind of reading or major TV watching. I call it TV, but really it's more like documentary watching. So I don't have any recommendations this week. I don't have any grand revelations about the healthcare system or anything else like that because my brain hasn't been here. So if you're reading something really cool and interesting, drop it below and let me know. I would love to hear what you are reading, whether it's fan fiction or whether it is a book. I tend to like nonfiction, but also like quirky sci-fi type things. So I would be interested in checking out what you've got. All right, folks, that is all I've got. I feel like my energy level on this one was not where it was on Friday, and I apologize for that, but it needed to get out, and now it is. So wherever you're at, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, or night, and please stay safe out there. I will see you in 2 or 3 weeks, and we will start the inclusion mal. Hello, welcome to the Knitted Bean podcast. My name is Echo. Hey, you're interrupting. You're interrupting. You can be up here if you're gonna be good. You'll be good. But it's fine. I did a sewn bind off all the way around this bitch. I split it up. I knew that was gonna happen.